I don't believe that we should ever have a good money again before we take the thing out of the hands of government.
Welcome back, everyone. We're Simply Bitcoin. We break down the news, the daily fail, meme review, software releases, and the plebsites. Joining us today, co-founder and CEO of Foundation Devices. I'm talking about Zach Herbert, but right now we are diving into the numbers. Let's do it, Nico.
Number time! Brought to you by Bitcoin 2022. It's going to be the largest Bitcoin conference in the world ever hosted. It's April 6th and 9th. That's right, it's coming up. It's in less than a month. Get your tickets quickly before the price increases. Speaker list includes President Nayib Bukele of El Salvador, Michael Saylor, Saifedean, Adam Back, Jack Mallers, Senator Cynthia Lummis, Dr. Jordan Peterson, and many, many more. And good news, you can take advantage of the link down in the link description to get 10% off your tickets to the largest Bitcoin conference in the world, Bitcoin 2022.
At the time of this recording, the block height is 729,599. The Bitcoin price, 47,700. Chain rewrite days, 732. Total public lightning capacity, look at this, climbed even higher than yesterday. It's a new all-time high, 3,594.41. Moscow time, 2096. Blocks to the halvening, 110,401. And the Samurai Whirlpool unspent capacity. Samurai Whirlpool is a CoinJoiner collaborative spend service. It is not a mixing service. And the unspent capacity is 4,445.28. The numbers, Nico.
The numbers. Looking good.
Pretty.
Looking good. They're pretty. Anyways, check this out. Isa and Megan are on fire. They're by the way, for anyone who doesn't know, they are the ones that run our TikTok and Instagram. So shout out to them, those Zoomers. And they sent us some questions from people that watch our TikTok and stuff, which is weird because, anyways, I'm too old for that, Phil. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So the first question is from Internet Sophie. The question is, talk about how Bitcoin helps marginalized communities. That's a very good question. So, okay, so look, just go back to fiat money, right? So fiat, most people in lower incomes or middle class incomes don't have the means to save in traditional equities or invest money in real estate. So what they do is they save money in cash, right? When you save money in cash, it gets debased by the government every time the government prints, also known as inflation. So how does it help people in marginalized communities? If, they save in Bitcoin, in the short term, it might be a little bit volatile, but over the long term, it actually gives them a chance to save for a better future, right? Which is something that they don't have today. So that's my response. Anyway, Zach, what do you think? Do you want me to read you the question? Talk about how Bitcoin helps marginalized communities.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you said. I also think that sometimes in our world of credit cards and bank accounts, like you need money to even get a credit card, right? Like you need something to get started. And so the idea that you can literally download an app on your phone and then instantly have money that, as you said, cannot be debased is a pretty cool concept. No need to do the whole KYC, no need to have a driver's license. I mean, a lot of people, especially marginalized communities, don't even have a good form of ID that they can use to open a bank account or a credit card or anything like that.
Yep. Phil, hit it, Phil.
What else am I gonna hit? You guys hit it all. I mean, I think that was absolutely fantastic. Look, the only other piece that I could really add to this is that many marginalized communities quite often end up dealing with situations with remittances. So Bitcoin can help with that as well. As we know,
Yep.
There's low fees, minimal fees to go and transfer the money, and making it easier to get that money all the way across the world. So,
absolutely. Next one, it's by Spirit Monger. Interesting name. Anyways, the question says, best way to buy and sell Bitcoin without KYC? That is a great question. So, Azteco is a good service. You buy these little flyers, no KYC. However, what you'll start to notice, right, is that to buy KYC Bitcoin, you usually have to pay a premium, right? So it's usually around 5 to 10% higher, even 15% higher than what you would do if you bought it through a normal KYC exchange. So you do have to buy it a little bit more expensive. Also, Bisq is a very good service. It's a full client that you download on your computer. It's a peer-to-peer kind of marketplace. And then local Bitcoins was, a big favorite, but I think that lately they did KYC. So, and then of course the traditional peer-to-peer through WhatsApp groups and Telegram, which is what they do today in developing countries. You hear that in Nigeria, you hear that in Venezuela, you hear that in countries all over the world. So there's a couple options. However, it's not as convenient as buying through a KYC exchange. So, and again, in countries that don't have the infrastructure in place, the financial infrastructure, that's your only option is to buy KYC Bitcoin because it doesn't exist. There's no other option exists. So anyways, Zach, what are your thoughts on this? What is the best way to buy and sell Bitcoin without KYC?
Yeah, you covered it pretty well. I think the only thing I can try to add is Bitcoin ATMs. You can find those. They're probably just best thing to do is Google like map of Bitcoin ATMs and try to find one in your area. Usually there's like a limit, like $50 or $100 where you can buy with just like a phone number instead of having to go through a KYC process. And if you're using, maybe depending on how you have that's another conversation on how to get a phone number anonymously. You could, for example, buy a prepaid phone or SIM card or something like that. And then you could buy Bitcoin anonymously through the ATM. The other way, which isn't exactly buying, but I think is right up your alley, is mining, right? I think that's probably one of the best ways, if not the best way, to acquire Bitcoin anonymously. But you have to go through the whole process of acquiring a miner, setting it up, doing the mining pool stuff. It could be a big process for most people. So I would definitely suggest, like you said, Azteco, Bisq, ATM, that kind of route.
Yeah, the mining without a doubt is the best way to accumulate, a decent amount of Bitcoin without KYC, but you do have to, there's a learning curve. You do have to buy the infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera. Phil, I know we completely, took out all the answers, but do you have anything to add?
Yeah, there's one last piece to it. Okay, if you're in the US and you don't want to use Bisq and you're a little bit tech savvy, you could always use a VPN and connect up to HODL HODL. If you're out in Europe, then you can use HODL HODL as well. It's the same thing. It's similar to Bisq, and there's no KYC. So
that's awesome. One thing I actually want to add, because it's important for anyone who's new to Bitcoin and buying Bitcoin without KYC anonymously, is that you don't want to mix it with the coins that you're buying linked to your KYC. So make sure that you use a different wallet if you're doing that, so that you can keep those funds segmented, because if you're going to be going and buying KYC coins later, you don't want to just throw it into the exact same wallet where you have your KYC free coins. Get that mixed up, you kind of negate the entire purpose of buying KYC free coins.
Absolutely. Yeah, that so much signal there. Coin management is so important. It's something that people look over. But yeah, get yourself a wallet. There's so many of them that have that functionality, because the more simplistic ones do not. So that's very important as well. But anyways, Phil, it's time for
the Daily Fail. Brought to you by Amber App. Check them out, amber.app. We're all stacking the corn. Why not stack with an app by actual Bitcoiners? Low fees, fair spreads, smart automation. The link is down below.
Amber, the smart way to stack sats.
Look, I know yesterday was painful. We went through that consensus CBDC white paper. All right, so I figured we'd split it up a little bit, take a look at something funny and sad, and then we're going to move into kind of a continuation of that garbage, right? This is a continued attack on Bitcoin from the I don't even know what to call them, the shitcoin intelligentsia, maybe. It's kind of I don't know. That kind of makes no sense. Anyways, let's dive into this. Let's take a look at this tweet. Chris Black. You know how I've always said that VCs won't use their massive voting power unless the plebs are doing something they don't want? Well, it happened with compound finance. Matic collateral was about to be approved, then at the last minute, with one vote, at A16Z was like, nope. And this is what we talk about with all of these ridiculous shitcoin governance tokens. Listen, the VCs are the ones who hold the majority of the votes. So they don't give a shit. Go ahead, trade your shitcoins. It doesn't matter. The point is that they can do whatever they want. They control this. You're playing in a rigged field. Anyways, before I move to the main part of the fail, do you guys have any comments on this?
Bro, It's
Exactly.
it's so ridiculous. That's my comment.
Yeah, mine is that I don't know what this Matic thing even is. And I'm proud of that. Okay, that I don't know what any of this means. I'm happy I don't know.
It's a shitcoin built on a shitcoin that helps people, get rug pulled with liquidity. There you go. Okay. All right, let's dive into it. Here we go, guys. I think a lot of people saw the flurry of bullshit corporate-owned media having to do with XRP. Right? Ripple is going to come save the day. We're going to come force Bitcoin's hand we're going to make them ESG happy or whatever the hell it is. Anyways, let's dive into it. We got tagged by quite a few people. Nico threw a whole bunch of great links into the chat. Let's go through this. There's even an article to cover, a sad article. Okay, here we go. So the first tweet is from Dotcoin. We have officially entered the then they fight you stage. Bitcoin is sound money. The more you attack it, the stronger it gets. Yes. And he's referencing this Bitcoin Magazine tweet. Ripple is launching a $5 million attack on Bitcoin based on false environmental claims. And this is exactly the article we are going to dive into. But before we dive into it, let's take a look at some other great comments from fellow Bitcoiners alluding to this. Okay. This one is actually really interesting. Greenpeace USA, Environmental Working Group, and others will run ads in media outlets such as the New York Times, Politico, and the Wall Street Journal, highlighting Bitcoin's environmental impact and advocating for change. The campaign is funded by Ripple co-founder Chris Larsen, who isn't representing the cryptocurrency firm in this endeavor. Mr. Larsen said he provided $5 million. So this is interesting. This is interesting that shitcoiners are paying to attack Bitcoin's mining algorithm. It's very, very interesting. They're not threatened by it, are they? Anyways, all right, let's keep going. All right, so here we go. This is the tweet from Chris Larsen. Last year, I published an op-ed calling for Bitcoin to consider a move away from proof of work to a low-energy validation method. Today, I'd like to share an update on how my thinking has evolved. Yes, Chris, let's dive into this. Let's first take a look. Who's Chris? He is the co-founder and executive chairman of Ripple, or XRP. Anyways, let's dive into this article.
I also want to give a very special shout out to Twitter for giving him a blue check mark. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Twitter, letting everybody know that this is garbage. Okay, let's dive into it. Change the code campaign will run ads. I'm sorry. I'll do it again. Change the code campaign will run ads in the next month. That's right. This is the total fiat system giving it its all. We're going to run a campaign. We're going to make Bitcoin change its ways. We're going to lobby the corn to do what we say. Here we go. Several climate activist groups, including Greenpeace and crypto billionaire Chris Larsen, are launching a Change Against the Code, not the climate campaign. So clever. Anyways, designed to pressure the Bitcoin community to alter the way it orders transactions that already consumes as much power as Sweden. That's right. We're going to put that in right at the beginning. We need in your head, okay, that Bitcoin's power consumption is evil. It's going to destroy your life. It doesn't matter that the World Economic Forum got this completely wrong in 2017. Completely wrong about Bitcoin's usage. Anyways, we're going to continue. Here we go. Nico got me pissed off with this one. Anyways, the campaign will buy ads in leading publications over the next month. Just like the shitcoiners do. No different, right? You hire a whole bunch of marketing and shill your crap. Anyways, the campaign has already reached out to a dozen key people and corporations. It's going to be great to find out who becomes completely irrelevant in Bitcoin very soon. Some of them involved in Bitcoin and yet pledging environmental, social, and governance, or ESG compliance. Yep, that's right.
There it is again.
There it is. According to Michael Brune, who is in charge of the campaign. We are in this campaign for the long haul. That's right, because there is no end to fiat money and what they can throw at it. Goldman Sachs, BlackRock, PayPal, Venmo, Fidelity. There are lots of companies we anticipate will be helpful to this effort. Yeah, they don't own Bitcoin. They can't do shit. Anyways, let's continue. Within months, Ethereum could switch to a different method called proof of stake. They said that in 2017 as well. So again, we're we're on the 5-year timeline there. They were going to switch to proof of stake anyways, which is projected by some to cut its energy consumption by 99%. Guys, we read this to you yesterday in the consensus CBDC white paper. Do you not see how clear the attack is on Bitcoin? If Bitcoin is not a threat, why are they so threatened?
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Anyways, if I was concerned about Bitcoin as a competitor, probably the best thing I could do is let it continue on this path. This is just an unsustainable path. So just a random comment out of nowhere, but this is fantastic. This is very telling. Okay, so you see, he wants to help Bitcoin thrive as the CEO of a shitcoin. He wants to see Bitcoin number one. That's why he wants to take care of proof of work. Or he really just wants to cripple it like Ripple. Because that's what Ripple really is. It's just centralized garbage where they dump on their bag holders. Anyways, guys, this was extremely, extremely ugly. We're going to finish it off, though. We're going to finish it off with a little bit of a historical reminder for everyone. Okay? Because you see, we've gone through this bullshit before, and people got scared. But guess what? True Bitcoin actually prevailed. Here's a tweet from Jerry Brito. Anyone who believes 50 miners and exchanges can force a change in Bitcoin's code needs to read The Block Size War. Yes, you do. That is an awesome read. Anyways, we're just going to read the highlighted piece because it's really all that matters. The campaign believes that about 50 key miners, crypto exchanges, and core developers have the power to change Bitcoin's code. They failed with Bcash. They definitely failed with BSV. I mean, that was just a shit fork of a shit fork. So it really, I mean, that's so far gone, it didn't even matter. But this has already been tried. This has already failed. If we want to go through another New York agreement type of scenario, if we have to go and unfortunately, figure out who the new bad actors are in Bitcoin, so be it. This will do nothing. Anyways, Zach, what are your thoughts on this?
I think it's just a colossal waste of money. It's just so stupid. I mean, he's a billionaire, this guy. And firstly, he's only putting $5 million towards it, which is like a tiny amount of money. But also, it's obviously, as you mentioned, if you know your Bitcoin history, it's not going to go anywhere. So what it really is, I think, is just a PR campaign to try to associate Bitcoin with climate change, which most people are terrified of. I think I saw somewhere today, I don't know if it was in that Bloomberg article or somewhere else, that they're trying to claim Bitcoin is going to be responsible for increasing the temperature by 2 degrees. I don't know if you guys saw that. That
Hairspray did that back in the 80s. Sorry, Zach. Go on.
You got to protect the ozone, But I mean, I think it's just clearly PR. I think it's going to probably get pretty nasty. I think some people, actually a lot of great people in the Bitcoin space have been warning about the ESG movement for some time. It seems like, it's benign, let's kind of cater to the movement. Let's show how we're mining responsibly, all that crap. You can tell it's all building up to this, right? It's trying to lay a foundation for an angle to aggressively go after Bitcoin. And so it's beyond clear that all this ESG stuff should be completely ridiculed, rejected. We're going to get through this. I don't know, could affect the price, could affect the regulatory climate. I don't know what's going to happen. But I also think that these groups see Bitcoin as winning. And we're kind of at like an inflection point in society, right? It's clear with everything happening in Ukraine and Russia's, selling oil and not for dollars, right? For other currencies and other countries looking to do so, that the US dollar system is, as the world reserve currency, is failing. And Bitcoin is continuing to grow stronger and stronger. And there's a limited window to try to stop it before it's truly unstoppable. I think we all think it's probably truly unstoppable at this point, but I think they're just flailing around trying to get something to stick and trying to cause as much damage as they can. And I wish just take his $5 million and buy some Bitcoin,
It's
exactly what he should do.
It's, and I saw this on Twitter, and it's not my original thought, and I think it was hilarious. And someone basically said it's like as if the Chick-fil-A CEO told McDonald's to stop selling hamburgers. Like, that's the analogy here, right? Clearly, there's a social attack on Bitcoin. There's a legal attack on Bitcoin. You know, there's also the market attack. And it goes back to what I've been saying, where shitcoins need the government. They need the state to survive. And they need to FUD Bitcoin to survive as well. So a lot of these shitcoiners, they don't mind stabbing Bitcoin in the back if it means enriching themselves, right? Phil highlighted that yesterday when we had one of the co-founders of Ethereum literally, this is not a joke, literally pitching the World Economic Forum on why they should use Ethereum as the network to launch their central bank digital currencies and all the capabilities that's going to allow. Like, it is ridiculous. You have an attack in Europe, which failed. You have an attack in New York, which is going to set a precedent, right? Where they're trying to ban proof of work. And the really fucked up part is that they're trying to use the environment, but if you look at Exxon and if you look at all these companies, they're using Bitcoin so that less methane goes into the atmosphere, which is actually good for the environment. But no, you can't look at that. That doesn't fit the narrative. This is clearly about control. You can't look at it any other way. This is about killing Bitcoin so their shitcoin succeeds. Governments are like, let's kill Bitcoin. Shitcoiners are like, let's kill Bitcoin for different reasons. So they're allies in this, though, right? Because they both win, right? So yeah, I agree with Zach. It's definitely going to get really, really, really nasty. I'm very bullish on states like Texas, though. I think Texas is going to fight, these environmentalists tooth and nail, because they're being insincere. Like, if they were really concerned about helping the environment, then they wouldn't attack this. And like I've said a million times, Bitcoin, it's like a lot of people have this weird connotation, right? Which is like, look, they think that their Bitcoin just uses all this energy, and that's not true. Bitcoin uses excess energy. It uses energy that was already going to waste. So you can't have the conversation of like, there is that much energy around the world to power the whole country of Sweden, and that energy was going to waste. That doesn't matter. What matters is that that energy is being used in the first place. If it was going to waste, even though it's already produced, that doesn't matter. What matters is that it's being used, period. Right? So the whole thing is just, and again, I think he knows this, but I think what he's trying to do is he's trying to rile up enough of the mob to, believe in this, narrative that, it could become a problem in terms of the regulatory situation. But I don't think they'll succeed. I don't think they'll succeed. And this really highlights the importance of a non-democratic money. Because if this was a democratic money, already the regulators would have stepped in, and they would have changed the code base. If you want to change the code base in Bitcoin, it's not about convincing a group of Bitcoiners. It's about convincing the Bitcoin network, meaning everyone that runs a node, to download your code. So if he really wanted to do this, he should have just forked off Bitcoin and done exactly that. Good luck trying to convince people to follow you. That's what Bitcoin Cash already tried to do. So no, he's trying to use the traditional, through the media, through the thing, through the regulators, through the this. But I think Bitcoin's immune to that. And I think that the worst that can happen is, a short-term, price. It affects it, but over time, can't stop the honey badger. But maybe I'm biased. I don't know. Maybe we're all biased. But anyways, Phil, it's time for it.
The Daily Meme Review.
Brought to you by Citadel 21. It's the best Bitcoin cultural zine. It's stories, comics, articles by actual Bitcoiners. Every volume has different artwork. This is the artwork for volume 10. It just dropped. Volume 11 dropped as well. I just ordered it. Comes in the mail soon. And they're scarce. There's only 1,000 physical copies made per volume. So quick, get your print of Citadel 21 today before it runs out. All right, everybody, first meme. Shout out, Pubby. Thanks for sending me this. Congratulations to everyone who got a raise this year. 2.1% raise, 7.9% inflation. I would say that's even more. I would say if you're not making more than 10 to 15% more than you did last year, you're making more money. You're making more money in dollars, but your purchasing power is definitely decreased. Anyways, next one by Uncle Rockstar, Society, unpaid open devs. This is a great one, bro. Shout out to you, dude. Yeah. Thanks for the stamp. By the way, really appreciate that. Okay, next one by Rothmus. This is dark. Okay, taxation is the price we pay for the civilized society. This is dark, but very, very
Well done.
effective. Very effective. Yeah. Okay, moving on to the next one by Chris. Bitcoin only, zoom out. Altcoins, Bitcoin. Very, very good. A very effective, very good meme. All right, next one is by Kit. Oh, she's coming on the show next month. This game will give you an adventure, and this game will give you a challenge. What about that game? When you play that game, days will blur together. Regular meals are a thing of the past. Friends will become concerned, and the whole time you'll be unsure if you're even having fun. Oh, man, that's a good meme. Okay, next one. Shout out, Mr. Robot. Thanks for the tag. Sorry, can't hear you over the sound of my freedom. Yes, yes. Oh, yes. The original poster is Wheel Snipe. Don Tesla. Thanks, bro. Really appreciate it. Awesome memes. For that, Phil, I'm going to give it a very special score. I'm going to give it a wrench. It's not just a wrench. It's a big-ass fucking wrench.
That is a good wrench.
Yeah. What about you, Phil?
Just looking at it, I'm like, it's got some good grips. All right, so, well, it looks like it has good grips. All right,
$5 wrench right there.
Sorry?
This is the wrench in the $5 wrench.
$5 wrench.
Of course, it has to be a hardware wallet manufacturer to point that out. Hey, that is a good ad for Foundation. You see, get a passport or the $5 wrench attack. Wow, that's a good ad. Okay, Phil. Bullish. Okay. Phil, what would you give that meme?
So our friend Neil Jacobs, fellow Bitcoiner, okay, from FOMO21.com, sent us some shirts. And Nico, I'm going to show your shirt as my review score. So check this out. It's the Cyber Hornet shirt.
Cyber Hornet shirt. Shout out, Neil. Definitely check out. What is it? Neil? FOMO21.com?
FOMO21.com.
Awesome. Zach, what would you give those memes?
I thought those memes were actually pretty excellent. So I got to show off our new packaging. So I got to give it the new Passport Batch 2 packaging.
Woo!
Yeah.
Very nice.
Well, we're gonna start plugging it, Zach, because I can't contain myself. I'm sorry, Zach. When does it release? When does the new Passport release?
We are starting manufacturing in the next week or two, and so we hope to be shipping by mid to late April.
Bullish. Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm gonna get the second one, and I got the first one too. They look very nice. It's one of the, and I said this. I did an unboxing. I remember I did an unboxing about a year ago. It's one of the most beautiful hardware. No, it is not. It is not one of the most. It is the most beautiful hardware wallet I ever got my hands on. The attention to detail is very, very, very nice. But anyways, guys, we want to know if you agree with our scores, you disagree. Let us know down in the comment section. Comment. And of course, make sure to subscribe to our Telegram group. Link us some dank Bitcoin memes to review. And subscribe to us on alternative video platforms, because we do talk shit about the corporate media, like Rumble.com and our personal favorite, BitcoinTV.com. They don't censor it because it's Bitcoin TV. But anyways, Phil, it's time for
the Daily News.
Brought to you by CryptoCloaks.com. They make the best 3D printed Bitcoin merch, like the famous 3D printed Bitcoin grenade art sculpture. Opens up, you put your favorite hardware wallet in there. You can also get this in any custom color your heart desires. You want to make this orange? You could do that, but only on CryptoCloaks.com. And of course, the famous honey badger and a bunch of other really cool 3D printed stuff. And you can take advantage of the link down below to get 5% off anything off the store, CryptoCloaks.com. So, I know what a lot of you guys are thinking. Oh, MicroStrategy buys more Bitcoin. But read between the lines. That's not at all what happened. Michael Saylor pulled a full degen. He's totally become a Bitcoiner. He's collateralized his Bitcoin to buy more Bitcoin. This is full degen. Okay, and it's not like, oh, I collateralized, 5K, 10K, like, no. He collateralized $205 million fucking dollars to buy more Bitcoin. Full degen. Anyways, gentlemen, do you have any thoughts or comments on this?
My main thought is that you can actually do this.
Yeah,
as an individual.
I know. I'm like, what?
You can. You can. No. I mean, like, anyone listening, if you have some Bitcoin, you could, if you wanted to, go to like Unchained Capital, right? And you could use your Bitcoin as collateral, and it is an interest-only loan until the last payment after the term, and you can actually do this. Is it recommended? No, I can't believe that this is a legit bank. This is like a like FDIC backed.
Dude, it's a real deal, but it's different because Unchained Capital, right? The limit I think is like what? The limit the thing for Unchained Capital is 700K, right?
I'm not sure. I don't mean you can do it with 200. I just mean like I'm sure some people. I can admit to doing this before.
Yeah, me too. I've done it before.
Much smaller scale, but this is something else. This guy is a true Bitcoiner, I think, at this point.
But we're degen, Zach, right? It's different, right? We're Bitcoiners. Yeah. He has remember, so a lot of people are like, "Oh, Michael Saylor's been here for a while." No, us plebs were here first. The difference is that he has billions of dollars, so he could play catch up, But this is the full conversion. This is the full conversion, Zach. This is the last step where you're like, I don't have any more money. Let me collateralize my Bitcoin to buy more Bitcoin.
But let's make it clear, like for the listeners, what he's actually doing. He's borrowing money based on his company's future revenue. He's selling the debt to the public market to buy the Bitcoin. Then he's collateralizing the Bitcoin to buy more Bitcoin. This is just fantastic, He's
collateralized everything. He's collateralized everything he's had. He ran out of company. It's like no people would give him more loans to his company, so he's like, but I have a lot of Bitcoin. Oh man. But listen, in all seriousness, this puts a lot of pressure because I think that the buying limit on Michael Saylor was around 30K. Right, so he's literally going. He's more than all in. He's like 120% in at this point. Anyways, okay. So we covered this yesterday, but I had to cut it out because we ran out of time, and I thought it would be great. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I don't like reading excuses. I would like to think Phil and I are partly responsible for this because we released an episode over the weekend. This is, ZK Snarks, which is, the centralized entity behind the Wasabi Wallet's CoinJoin. And they're responding to essentially a lot of heat that the community was giving them because they started censoring certain transactions that were going into the CoinJoin, not into the Wasabi Wallet yet, right? But look, I'm going to say what I said yesterday is, look, I don't even think that response is worthy of a platform. It's just you're blacklisting, right? You're censoring transactions. I don't care what your reasoning is. This is a battle for freedom, right? At the end of the day, we have an opportunity to free mankind. And what you're seeing from a private company is you're seeing that they're ensuring their own survival by getting in bed with the government, by getting in bed with the state. That's what they're doing, right? And that's a very, very well-written excuse. That's my 2 cents on that. Zach, do you have any opinions on just Wasabi in general, dude? Because I think it's disgusting. Yeah,
I do. And 2 of our teammates at Foundation are actually Bitcoin Q&A and Lily, Markets by Lily, who are both done a lot of education about CoinJoin and Samurai versus Wasabi. They're definitely Samurai supporters in this. And so I've been educated a lot, and we've talked about this as a team as well in the last week or so since all the Wasabi drama has gone down. Like, look, I get it if there's some new regulation that passed or some new law or something, and like the government is going to ZK Snacks and saying, hey guys, like you are going to get thrown in prison over this. Because like money transmitter laws in the US, for example, are really serious. Like look what happened to the BitMEX guys. They had to plea out for like a $1 million type, deal and could still face jail time. So like I get it if there was new regulation, but there's not. Like they are doing this, Wasabi is doing this. They are blacklisting certain UTXOs, which means they're going to be paying some chain analysis company, which means that your CoinJoin fees that you're paying to Wasabi are being used to pay some chain analysis company. And they're doing it preemptively, even though there's no actual law or anyone telling them what to do. So like, I think it's totally different if someone is like, if they faced like some regulation and law enforcement, and then they have the option of either turning on this blacklist or shutting down the company, it's a little bit different in my opinion than what they're doing, which is completely just I don't even know. The whole thing's been kind of pathetic, and the announcement as well. The fact that this, I think, might be the first blog post, and besides that, it was like a tweet. There was no formal announcement or explanation. Just is really disappointing and I think bad for the Bitcoin privacy space. And all eyes to Samurai and to other, CoinJoin or Bitcoin privacy technologies. Like we have PayJoin activated on the Foundation store on our BTC Pay server, where it's like when you buy a passport from a supported wallet, it actually does like a mini CoinJoin as part of that payment. We actually have a blog post coming out, I think, this week about that Q&A wrote up. There's also other, new types of implementations that are out there, like JoinMarket and other stuff that's being worked on. So all eyes to them. I think anyone who would use Wasabi right now, I mean, you're basically saying, take my money and go use it to pay a chain analysis company.
That is a beautifully put, and I really appreciate, because look, it's a lot easier for two commentators on the internet to just be critical of that. But when you have a Bitcoin company, I mean, we have a Bitcoin company. It's different, okay? Zach makes things. We make videos. So, I think that there's a lot more on the line, to go to be opinionated on this subject. So I really do appreciate your perspective. Phil, what are your thoughts on this?
So it's been really difficult, right? Because I do have friends that are, Wasabi supporters and stuff like that. I've heard both sides. Unfortunately, the arguments that I've heard in support of Wasabi really leave a lot to be desired. To say it nicely, it's just, it's like Nico said. I mean, like really, it's nicely written. It is a giant excuse, making the excuse that, all privacy is going to be gone in a few years anyways. I mean, so does that mean that we should just give up? Like, really? Like, that sounds like the same type of shit that we heard from, I don't remember who it was, but like some guy was like, well, we should just give in to proof of stake. And it's like, are you kidding me? You joking? Like, we just got our chance to have freedom money again, and we're gonna piss this all away because of it's so much easier, and they're yelling so loud, they're putting so many regulations in place. So look, you know what? No, this is wrong. I really do feel, unfortunately, that Wasabi took the wrong side of this. I understand from a business perspective, they thought they were getting ahead of something, but I think that they may have misunderstood the risk that they took.
Yeah, I agree.
I also just want to add that we are getting much closer to better Bitcoin privacy. Like if every merchant was using BTC Pay server, which is not far-fetched, to see much more adoption. And you enable PayJoin, and we have some Blue Wallet supports it, Sparrow supports it. I'm sure more wallets, will support it. Then all of a sudden, when you're going to buy something from like a store with Bitcoin, you're doing a little CoinJoin. You can't tell like how much money the person's spending or like who's sending to whom. Like that gives you some privacy. Paynims and payment codes that are associated with that. We're BDK, which is Square's like project to do Bitcoin development kit to make it easier to build out Bitcoin wallets. They just had a pull request for payment codes to be added so that you'll be able to, more easily send to, basically you could send to someone's code over and over and over again, but it sends to a new address each time to preserve privacy. There's obviously different CoinJoin stuff being worked on. Like there's so many, and then also home mining, right? I mean, like you look at like Jack Dorsey's Block, like they've said they're trying to go out and build like a home miner. And so if more people are getting into home mining, then you have privacy there. So I think it's ridiculous to say that like Bitcoin privacy, like the idea of Bitcoin privacy is dead, because I think it's the opposite. And just really sad that that's one of the excuses for this action.
Yeah, spot on. And the fact that it's coming from, again, a hardware wallet manufacturer makes that even more powerful. So moving on to the meat and gravy. Check this out, ladies and gentlemen. Here is, before I get to that, I got a little bit ahead of myself. Before I get to that, here is the Passport Batch 2. Very, very, like I said, right? Very, very pretty hardware wallet. So this is a Batch 2, right? This is, there's Batch 1, which is the Founders Edition. I got that one. This is Batch 2. It's $199, comes out soon, like Zach explained. I'm going to go through some of the features, and I'm going to ask Zach some questions. So,
Sure.
So key specs, supported cryptocurrencies, obviously Bitcoin via PSBTs. What do you mean by best-in-class multi-sig experience?
For sure. So I think most hardware wallets today are not designed well for multi-sig. And I'll just give you like, I think one good example that is one of my favorite Passport features. Like if you have a multi-sig, let's say 2 of 3, it means that, if you want to send Bitcoin, you have to go to each of your keys, each of your hardware wallets or devices or mobile wallets to sign the transaction. But like, let's say you want to receive a transaction, you use like maybe the wallet on your phone or on your computer to show a new receive address. A lot of people just stop there. Most people don't realize, like, how do you know that wallet isn't compromised and that receive address belongs to your multi-sig? So like what we do with Passport, for example, is, Passport makes it super easy to import those details of the multi-sig configuration for you. And actually, every time you go to pair Passport with a new software wallet, it takes you through like a little flow where it asks you to do things. It walks you through it. So basically, you can scan just with Passport. We have a feature called Verify Address. You just scan with the camera on the device the QR code of your address, and Passport says like, yes, this belongs to your multi-sig, config. And so you kind of have these checks that are done to make sure that you're actually benefiting from the security and that you're not opening yourself up to, potential attack vectors or anything like that. It's really hard to do that if you don't have a hardware wallet that can, support importing multi-sig configurations. And the camera helps so much to be able to scan like the QR code and know that is your address.
I love that because, one of the things, and again, because a lot of people don't understand when you're thinking about your Bitcoin setup, it's all trade-offs, right? And if you increase the technicality of your setup, right, whether you're using multi-sig, one of the downsides, exactly what Zach said, is that if you use one of the hardware wallets as a signing device, there's really no way to verify the address. So you could mitigate it, right? You could restore it on your phone. You could restore it on your computer. So you could compare and contrast the likelihood that it is your address. If it says it on 2 devices is pretty high, but the gold standard is to have that confirmation on the hardware device, because at the end of the day, the hardware device is like, that's the last stop. That's, that is, it since it's air gapped, you're not really it's the best. That's what you should be doing. But with multi-sig, it complicates that. With single sig, it's pretty easy, right? So I really like that. That's really cool that you guys thought about that. So anyways, moving on to supported wallets, you have Bitcoin Core. Obviously, you have Blue Wallet, BTC Pay, Casa. Oh, that's awesome. I'm a big fan of Casa. Electrum.
Should be out soon.
Sweet. Shout out Lop. Nunchuck. Oh, these are the guys that responded to the Canadian government. How long until till Klaus visits them? Okay, Simple, Bitcoin Wallet, Sparrow, Spectre, Wasabi. Zach, what is this? Traitor. No, I'm just kidding. No, I know. Everyone uses it. Look, the wallet so far isn't blacklisting. Let's see how long that stays. So, did you update the secure element? First of all, people don't. What is a secure element? Why is it important on a hardware wallet?
Sure. So we use like what we'd call like a dual chip security architecture in order to store the private key. Not unique to us. Coldcard does it, and Bitbox does it as well. Where we have a secure element that stores some like portion of the key basically on there, and it's a special kind of chip that's designed to be resistant to like physical attacks, where the only way to try to extract the information out of it is to like take it to a lab with like hundreds of thousands of dollars of equipment, rip the chip off the board, try to like hit it with lasers and stuff. And sometimes you can be successful, which has happened in the past, but it means that it takes like a extremely advanced targeted attack to try to extract what's on there. Then we also store some of the key in the main processor on the device. And so when you go and use Passport, you enter your PIN in, it kind of combines those pieces of information together, when it's turned on and unlocked. And then you have your seed on there. And then when you shut it off, it loses that. And so you have to enter your PIN every time. So if your wallet, hardware wallet does not have a secure element, like a Trezor, for example, what that means is that it's still like resistant to, attacks from like a remote attacker, if someone was like trying to get you from like compromised software or something. But if someone gets physical access to your hardware wallet, it means that you can just like pull off those keys in 15 minutes with like $100 worth of hardware. So, it's not necessarily like a bad thing. I mean, every hardware wallet has its own security model. And I think as long as like you're honest about the trade-offs, then it's okay. But we like this architecture, and we think it does a good job because you'd have to be like really targeted with an expensive, expert level attack to try to, extract your keys from the device.
Yeah, and it like I think, especially if you use multi-sig, it starts to become economically unfeasible. I think NVK posted a blog post with the laser, and I think he claimed it was like $500,000 to. It
was like $200,000+.
Okay.
But keep in mind too, like with that kind of attack, which Ledger did against the previous gen chip that was in Cold Card, which was like the microchip 508A. You have to like literally take the chip off the circuit board. You got to break apart the device. You got to extract the chip. You got to grind off the top layer of the chip. And this thing is tiny. It's like a millimeter by like a millimeter big. And then you got to hit it with all the lasers and everything. And so the chances that you might damage that chip are really high. So it's one thing to do it like in a lab when you have like 100 chips available to you and you can kind of cycle through them and say, we compromise it. It's another thing when it's like real world where, if you would know that it depends. If you have your hardware wallet in a place where where you check on it, the thing would have to be gone for a period of time, and they have to literally rip the stuff out of it and have physical possession of it for some period of time to do that kind of thing.
I think you'd be able to tell if it got lasered for sure. All right, moving. Phil, you got all giddy. Do you want to add to that? Because it feels a tinkerer. That's it. If you see his desk, there's a bunch of tinker shit.
Love it.
No, so it was just like anecdotal comment, but yeah, exactly. Like I want people when people talk about attack vectors, right? Like first of all, I love how objective you're being, and that you explained exactly this, right? Be honest with the trade-offs, right? Like there's a certain amount of personal preference, and of course you have to be honest with yourself about the trade-offs. But it's just also really interesting because the person that has this knowledge, right? Like you have to think to yourself, somebody this sophisticated that is spending this amount of money, do you really think that they're coming after, that they're coming after you personally? Like it's just, I'm just saying, like a lot of times it's usually a slim to no chance, that that's actually happening in this case. But like I'd say that the likelihood of somebody having this capability and that you're going to run into them and that they're going to steal your shit, I just think is really slim to none.
I agree. Okay.
But it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be secure. That's all I'm saying, right? Like, it doesn't mean you shouldn't be secure, but it is good to be objective about it.
You hear that? Don't leave your hardware wallet next to Phil because he's got lasers. Anyways, moving on. So, Zach, in the design of this, I thought this was really interesting. You decided to put no USB data. Obviously, I don't know what the fuck Ledger was thinking with the Bluetooth. Like, that was a terrible idea, but, to each their own, I guess. So, kind of, elaborate a little bit more on your design decisions in terms of using camera and micro SD only and not using any USB data because, I know Cold Card uses it. I know Trezor, Ledger, they all use USB data. Why did you not want to do that?
For sure. And so Passport.
More importantly, give more context. I'm sorry, did some people. Okay, so if you don't collect your hardware wallet to your computer, how do you sign the transactions? Sorry.
Yeah, so for sure. So a couple things. One is Passport is air gapped, right? Which means that,
what does that mean?
No wireless, no wireless communications of any kind. No like USB interface or anything you can plug into, right, in order to pull data off the device. The only way that Passport can communicate is either with the micro SD card, which we provide, when you buy one, and there's a port on top. Or with the camera, which is the best way, camera and QR codes. And so in order to do a transaction, you basically do a QR code exchange back and forth from your wallet, your software wallet, which can be on your phone or can be on your computer, and then the screen on your Passport. So we actually there's a couple differences with Passport Batch 2 versus the original Founders Edition. So like the original Founders Edition has these AAA batteries, but we didn't like that because they're disposable. They'd run out after some number of hours of continuous use, but they'd run out, and it only works well with lithium batteries. And so you got to go pay extra for those. So we're using a standard form factor battery now with Passport Batch 2. It's a lithium ion, but it's a Nokia BL5C form factor. So you're not dependent on us. You can go to any store that sells these batteries, any electronic store, Amazon, whatever. You could buy one. Obviously, it won't have our nice logo on it. It won't say Power Cell, by Foundation, but you could still, you're not dependent on us, right? And then we actually include now a USB-C port on the bottom of Passport Batch 2 so that you can charge. But it's a special type of port that's a power only port. So you can actually look at it and see that it only has a couple pins on it. It doesn't have all those pins that you'd see in a normal USB port. So you can be assured that like I can visually inspect this in like half a second. It only can communicate power. There's no way it can do data or anything like that. And the other thing we did too with Batch 2 to make it easier to use, especially like with computers where the webcams can be kind of crappy, is we have like a brighter, higher quality color IPS display that's laminated to glass. So it's like way brighter, way crisper of a screen, works much better, just obviously like with the phone camera back and forth scans, but it works really well now too with like a laptop camera. So we did, a bunch of those improvements to try to think about like, yes, it's air gapped, but like we want to put a rechargeable battery in, we want to put a crisp screen in there, all that kind of stuff. And all that is in Batch 2.
Awesome. Very, very exciting. Zach, I want to move on. This is really interesting. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think, look, so guys, I've been educating people on Bitcoin for 6 years. Getting them to cold storage is one of the most difficult jumps, right? Look, download Bitcoin wallet, buy Bitcoin, easy. Getting into cold storage becomes complex. So I love that you guys are doing this. Could you talk a little bit about your concierge setup? It's cheap. It's only $100. How does it work, et cetera, et cetera?
For sure. Yeah. So this is by Bitcoin Q&A, who's like a legend in the space. He, decided to join our team some months ago as our head of support. And he's taken over all our documentation, all our support material, tutorials. It's like honestly an honor that, he decided to join us. And we were talking and he said, why don't we do these one-on-one sessions? Like I'll run them so that we can, because he already does that, separately with either friends, family members, or any people who come to him on Twitter. And we thought it'd be really cool because, like you said, it's really hard to take the leap into self-custody using a hardware wallet. It can be just scary, even though we with Passport, I think, make it like much easier than using any other hardware wallet. It's still like just that leap, that psychological leap where like, what if I have a question? Who do I ask? So, $100, we're not doing this to make a profit off of it, obviously. We're doing it just to kind of lower the barrier to buying a Passport and getting into Bitcoin self-custody. You get to have a session with Q&A for an hour. I would pay $100 to talk to him for an hour anyway, and he can help you set up Passport with our new software wallet called Envoy, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a second, or with any wallet of your choice, because he literally knows how to use every single Bitcoin wallet. And so that's concierge setup.
Very, very cool. Yeah, I think that's neat. I don't think anyone else is doing that, which is kind of, obvious in hindsight, right? That is one of the most difficult parts, right? Onboarding people. So I suspect this is part of making it easier for people, the whole experience. What is Envoy? So I know it says it's going to be available on iOS and Android soon. Are you thinking of making a desktop version eventually?
Probably eventually. I got it on my phone here. So it'll be released alongside Passport Batch 2, hopefully next month. Envoy is our mobile companion app for Passport. So that's how it's starting. It's not a standalone software wallet that you can use without Passport, specifically a watch-only software wallet, single sig, that you connect to your Passport. It's like we didn't have a path for new users, like new Bitcoiners, to walk them through like unboxing, your Passport to being set up. So we sent them through Blue Wallet, which is a great wallet, right? I use it for a lot of things, but for someone who's like totally new to Bitcoin, like a friend, family member, you're like, here's Passport, like here's this box, like go get yourself set up. It's hard. And so we want to have like the most simple, like Zen-like Bitcoin wallet with like no features, right? To start at least, and we'll build it up over time, And so it literally you connect your Passport to it. It's like one click as you're doing the setup. Even if you don't want to use Envoy as a wallet, it walks you through the unboxing, supply chain verification, firmware update. We're actually giving you now like micro SD adapters in the box, USB-C and Lightning for your iPhone or Android phone. So you can do the firmware update right from your phone. You go through the entire setup process right from your phone, support everything in app. So we're really excited about that. But then at the end of the setup, you can say, I want to use Envoy as a software wallet, and you just get an account, with Envoy. You can receive Bitcoin, you can send Bitcoin. That's it. There's only one option, which is if you want to bump, or we call boost the transaction fee for higher fees. So we don't have like 3 different levels of fees. We don't have like enter a custom fee. It's just like standard or pay a little bit more, click this button, done. We do some cool privacy stuff by default, though. We connect over Tor by default. Always.
Okay.
Yep.
I was going to ask that because the ledger is one of the things. Okay, so Zach, give a little bit of context. You have to give context.
Yeah, I will.
Okay. So when you download a software wallet on your phone, you're trusting someone else's node. That means you're doxing your pub files, you're doxing your IP. So anyways, I gave the context. Zach, continue.
I think that's good context. I think it's like you download a Bitcoin wallet, you don't realize that unless that wallet is either A, connecting over Tor, which helps a lot, like Samurai does it by default, right? Or B, allowing you to connect to your own node. The companies that the wallet that you're using, that company is running its own Bitcoin node or nodes. It's running its own servers. It's able to know your IP address. It's able to potentially use that to find your geographic location. It might be able to easily find your name and other identity info. And then it also is able to see all the transactions flowing through the node and associate them with you. That is a huge privacy concern. And unfortunately, most Bitcoin software wallets do not connect to Tor by default. Some of them have it as an option, which is awesome. But like as someone who's like new to Bitcoin, downloading the app, you want that privacy by default. And so, we do Tor by default to our, company Electrum server. But then we also have the ability to connect to your own node. And so it's a weird set of choices because on one hand, it's like a super Zen experience with like none of the advanced features that you would find in like a Samurai or anything like that. On the other hand, it's Tor by default. And you can kind of see how like we're trying to be the super Zen, nicely designed, easy to use, but all about giving you that baseline level of privacy by default. Over time, we definitely will make Envoy into a standalone wallet as well. But we're pretty focused on just providing like the best experience with your Passport for now, knowing that some % of our users will use it and like as a wallet, and many won't. They'll choose to use like something else, like Sparrow or Blue Wallet or Spectre, Samurai. But they'll use it for like firmware updates and setting up Passport, which is a huge win.
Very, 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 very cool. Anyways. Awesome. Thanks for that, Zach. Phil, there was an open source software release today. Why don't you tell everybody about it?
Software releases brought to you by CipherSafe. Check them out, cyphersafe.io. You've got to store your seed. Why not store your seed in the best possible place? In the Cypher Wheel or the all-new Cypher Grid. They both come with a tamper-resistant wire, but the grid comes with a punch tool. All right, we've got JoinMarket version 0.9.5 that was released. It's down below in the show notes. Guys, don't forget, we drop all of our episodes on audio-only platforms as well. Don't forget to check us out, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. And if you want to stream us some sats, fountain.fm.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil. All right, guys, that was our show. Before we go, Phil, we have to give a very special shout out to our awesome hoodie sponsor, Rep Hard, representltd.com. You can take advantage of the link down below to get 10% off anything on the store. Phil's modeling, it's crazy. Rephard.com. I also want to give a very special shout out to our awesome guest, the legendary Zach Herbert. He is the co-founder and CEO of Foundation Devices. Like he said, Passport 2 drops very, very soon. You can check out foundationdevices.com. Anyways, guys, that was our show. If you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. Of course, if you want to continue hearing the Bitcoin news from the plebe-pleb perspective and the catastrophic fails from the shitcoiners and the central bankers and governments, definitely consider subscribing to Simply Bitcoin, and we'll see you tomorrow, guys, for a new episode.
Unfortunately, there's a Bitcoin soy fork coming, so be careful and beware.